Well, South Dakota's football season came to an end Saturday in the opening round of the FCS Playoffs, and here to talk about that and the rest of what was a really solid season here at South Dakota is head coach Bob Nielson. And Bob, I know it's a disappointing finish, especially when you pair it with the last week of the regular season, but all in all, in the immediacy, in the wake of all of that, have you allowed yourself time to digest and just think about all of the great things that you guys were able to accomplish here?
Yeah, not the ending that we wanted on Saturday, but to make that the ending, a lot of good things happened, and we played some really good football through the course of the season, some really consistent football throughout the course of the season, and took a step forward as a program. We want our program to be a program that competes year in, year out for a national championship, and we want being in the playoffs to be something that's an every year occurrence.
How much closer do you think you are to that?
Well, I think we're a lot closer. I think we showed that, with the way we played this year. We've got a pretty young football team in comparison to some of the teams that we played this year, with a lot of guys coming back now that have had the experience of being in the national playoffs and understanding what it takes to get there.
Given what happened in the spring, and I know you're pretty well exhausted about talking about this at this point, but I need to bring it up one more time anyway, and how frustrating all of that was this fall almost therapeutic for you and this program to just, as you said, Friday, there were a lot of naysayers coming into this season, and I think you proved a lot of people wrong.
Yeah, it was a rewarding year in the way that our players responded to the challenge of coming out of the spring with not much momentum, with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, I think, in terms of the kind of team that we were capable of being, and I saw a team work really hard and come closer. Become a lot closer, and that's one thing that we have right now is we got a great culture. We got a team that's excited to be at the University of South Dakota and working forward.
A lot of all those things have to do with leadership and the kind of leadership you're getting from the players within that locker room. You had a great group of seniors this year. I know that's something you talked a lot about after the game on Saturday. A tough group to replace. Do you have the guys that are ready to kind of pick up that torch and run with it?
Yeah, it was not a big group when you really look at it in terms of numbers, but a quality group, and you look at them across the board, with Jack Cochran's and Devlon Whitcombs and Jake Matthews and E.J. Reed on the defensive side of the ball, and then you look at the seniors on offense like Caleb Vander Esch and Brett Sampson, and obviously some great specialists in that group too. But I think the one thing that group has done is they've done such a great job in leadership that they've set a standard for the baton to be passed. And as I looked around the room yesterday in our final team meeting, I looked at every position group, and there's a bunch of guys ready to step into those roles, and some of whom have already assumed those roles.
As you start to look forward, and I know you're never ready to look forward right at the end of a season because you want to still be coaching and playing, and unfortunately that's just not the way it is right now. So the next job is to, okay, what's next? And, of course, the early signing period is what's next. What are you expecting in a couple of weeks in December in terms of that next group of Coyotes coming in?
Yeah, we're gonna, we'll sign a good group. This year recruiting cycle again still is impacted by that COVID year with a bunch of guys having an additional year of eligibility. So again, it's not going to be a huge class. And it will be a class that won't necessarily be completed on the early signing date, but we're excited about the young men that we're going to be able to bring in. Continuing to build depth and competitiveness in your program is what taking that next step is all about for us.
What have been some of the priorities with all that as you approach this particular cycle and knowing what you were losing even in a small senior class?
Well, you always have to continue to build depth up front, both in the offense and defensive lines, and so that continues to be a priority every year. Our linebacker and defensive backfield positions, adding some depth to those position groups that probably aren't quite as large as we'd like to have those groups be. will be priorities on that side of the football, and we're losing some very talented specialists, and so part of this recruiting class will include replacing some guys there as well.
Well, it's been a fun year, certainly, to cover the Coyotes, and we certainly appreciate all the time you've given us each and every week throughout this season. Congrats on a great year, and already looking forward to the spring and beyond with this football program.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Jay.